Okay, thank you. Hello to all colleagues around the world. It's my pleasure to introduce in a 10 minutes journey what transformation we are going through in the Netherlands. Yes, that was nearly 100 years ago. Our predecessors organized the Second Congress of Accountants in Amsterdam. And if you can see, it was not a very diverse nor inclusive society in those days. It has been a long time till now, since we will organize next Monday on International Women's Day, the third leadership event together with IMA, but that took us a while before we ended up there. Next slide, please. So what is the transforming going on in our institute? It's a middle-sized institute, but we had some triggers in 2017, as you can read. And many of them are common to all of you, like the declining public trust, which also was mentioned before, and the tainted reputation, but also some internal triggers, like a limited member involvement, and also interesting, a failed attempt to change the association's governance. In those days, the idea was and also well known was the idea that we should be more effective. And the board in those days thought, well, let's change our structure to become more effective, and then we'll make up a new strategy. But as you all know, normally structure follows strategy, so that was the wrong way to take it. That was a failed attempt one. We had more mistakes. We made more mistakes. We learned from them, and we went on. May I have the next slide, please? This is the most complicated slide I show you. It takes some time. We hired a consultant, Ivan Pauwels, who did a large study on the development of professional associations. So not only those of accountants, but also from other professional bodies. And he found, and we did recognize what he found, that a lot of associations over the years developed from a classic association, which we have seen on the photo as well, through associations we now call 3.0 associations, in which the focus has been much more on the sector and customers instead of members, and in which we are much more looking for innovation and leadership within our association. But there are also still elements from the association 1.0 in our institute up today. For example, we still are leaning heavily on meetings and network functions. And we are striving or having more co-creation with stakeholders. So it's this scheme which helps us to direct goals, to set goals for our institute. May I have the next slide, please? So it was clear for us that we needed a new policy, and that's what we did, following the usual steps: developing a vision, formulating a view on the future role of the association. And that took some 2 years and involved a lot of stakeholders advising us, and also a lot of talks and discussion with our members. And it ended up in a lot of paper, in an outlook, in a policy, in an agenda. But as we say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So these were all intentions. How do you actually implement those intentions? There was focus with our board on the 5 themes you see there. And I'll tell a little bit more about societal relevance, or you might better call it public value, about undisputed quality, and about governance. Next slide, please. For us, it was clear that if we want to make a difference, it's not enough just to be a good accountant or a good auditor. You must make a difference in society. So their public value is trying to make a difference in the public debate. And we established a council, or you better call it a think tank, with members and non-members alike, who are reporting on issues based on the insight by auditors. Like this one we published a year ago on climate. And of course, sustainability is a major item. And this one was for us a ticket to enter the discussions and debating circles with government and other stakeholders alike. Normally, they are not expecting a role of the auditor. I think it's mainly a concern of the business itself. For us, it's clear this climate is also a financial concern. So reports like this help us to enter the discussions. Next slide, please. The other one I wanted to share with you was quality. Of course, quality is always an issue, but it shouldn't. Quality should just be guaranteed by every profession. Having an undisputed quality was the real goal, because there have been so much criticisms on our profession over the last decade. And the road we took was not to start with every other stakeholder an intense discussion, but try to go for co-creation. How can we actually involve them in what we are doing? So we have not only our stakeholders participating in our 5 different working groups on fraud and continuity, etc. We have also the government representatives on board, and that's a special one, because these government representatives has been appointed by the Ministry of Finance, because in fact he was sick of all the criticism on accountants. We have at least 3 different audit reforms, which were mainly governed by ourselves, and sometimes we were helped by stakeholders, but the criticism remained. So the Ministry of Finance appointed last year 2 representatives, and they could have taken a role in which they were mainly criticizing and directing us around, but that didn't happen. Instead, they agreed to have a much more cooperative role and try to have discussions with our stakeholders and with our main heads of audit firms about audit quality and what should be changed and improved. This is quite a Dutch way to solve a lot of problems. Talking. It takes a while, but in the end, it does help to find a solution which is much more easily implemented, instead of having small talks, a lot of discussion, and then a solution which is not accepted by other parties. Next slide, please. And the third one I want to address in the transformation is that you might have a great strategy, but are you effective? It also takes changes to our own organization, and I only will highlight the changes it took for our board. As you can see, there are some journeys to make, and maybe one I would to highlight is, for example, one about the number of board members. We were used to have at least 14 members on our board, and it's not a very effective board, as you can imagine. We wanted to have only 5 or 7, and all the 14 board members agreed that that would be indeed the right goal to set. But how do you convince each of them that 7 of them has to leave? Well, that does take time. That does really take time. In the end, we managed to do so. We have now a much more effective board. And also another improvement is that the board is now open for non-members to become a member of our board, and which is especially interesting for stakeholders who represent other parties like investors. They will be interested to have a seat on our board, and we are interested to have those discussions within our board and not only between the board and investors alike. They won't get a majority, but we're glad to have them on the board. And we also have them, as I mentioned before, on our think tank. Next slide, please. So what we are basically trying to do is that we change as an associations, as a PEO, which was mainly concentrating on serving our members well, trying to have them close to us. And we are trying to change it to an association which is leading our members into new areas, especially if it comes to public value, undisputed quality, and the other themes which we are focusing now. So that's within the 10 minutes. Thank you for your attention.